Hi everyone, and welcome to Access to Text, presented by myself, John Kennedy, with the assistance of Anne Southall, Head of Product, who's sitting to my right, Luke Vickers, a Senior Solutions Consultant, who's sitting to our left here, and Mitch Davis, who is remote from home, assisting us with the Q&As. So if you do have any Q&A for any of the content you see today, please hit the Q&A button at the bottom. If it's not on the bottom of your screen, it just says Q&A, and pop your questions in there, and we'll try to answer them. So what will we be discussing today? We have a product update from Anne around some new things that we're doing within SASBOSS. We have some SASBOSS tips and tricks from Luke. We have a Webex update from Luke as well on some capability and things to do within Webex there. We have an in-depth overview of iCall Suite, which Luke will also run through. So Luke has a fair bit to do today. And then I'll run through some other updates that we've got within the business, and then we'll also have Q&A at the end. So on to the next bit, which is product update from Anne. So we'll have a bit of a demo here, so I'll just flick across to my other screen and I'll allow Anne to talk.
Thanks, John. So as John said, I'm the head of product. So my role is making sure that the Access 12 products match our partner and customer needs. I manage the product development team and make sure that our company and product strategy align to the overall business strategy. So today I'm here to give you a sneak peek about some new features that are coming out in SASBOSS, specifically the SASBOSS widgets. So this marks the beginning of the SASBOSS facelift and refresh that's coming out. And there's many more improvements and features to come, including CPQ tool, provisioning of services, new support experience, partner and customer analytics, and a whole UI refresh. And that's just to name a few of them. We have like a really jam-packed roadmap, and you're going to see more of that at the upcoming roadshow. But today I'm here to talk about the SASBOSS widgets. So the widgets are found on your homepage. So as you'll see here, so this is not available externally yet. It's an internal sneak peek, but it loads as you log in and the widgets appear. So they're designed to help you quickly view and navigate to the areas that you use most. So John's logged in here with the enterprises and services widget showing, but there are many more to choose from. So we'll go through adding another widget. So if you go to the dashboard icon, you will see that there's available widgets on your right that you haven't selected yet. The ones on your left are the ones you've already selected. So if we pick the community widget and drag it across and say changes, that will add that widget to your home screen, and it will load up all the community content that you have available. You can also rearrange your widgets. So if you want community, for example, first, you can go back into dashboard again and drag community to the top selection. That will move it into the first space. If you want to move it to the second spot, you'll move it to the second space, and you can have as many widgets as you want and order them as you like. Saving again, we'll move community into the second spot. Right. All right. The other thing you can do is filter widgets. So for example, if we go to the enterprise widget now and tap the dials on the right, you can make filters as you choose, and you can also add and remove columns. So if we want to see services that have more than 15 services, for example, we would type 15 into the filter, save our changes, and that will then filter the enterprises to the ones that have more than 15 services. So even if you were to log out now and come back in, this would save those filters and the widgets you selected, the order you've selected, to come back, and it'll be just how you like it. So more widgets are coming. We'd love for you to suggest the ones that you would like to see and the sort of filters and columns you would like to see for the data that you would like. And we can really customize this experience to what you would like it to have. As I said before, it's really about making sure that you can have access to things that you use the most in a quick fashion, so you can navigate to them quickly, which, come to think of it. So the next thing we'll do is a quick launch to enterprises. So if you were to select one of your enterprises on the left there, yeah, so pick one of those, yep, customer demo, that will take you directly to that enterprise's page. So if that's, you might want to sort the enterprises by ones that you visit the most or most recent updated, you can create that sort, save it, and then when you log in, that enterprise will be the most available to you. So you click straight into that and jump straight into that enterprise. The thing you can do is a quick launch menu. So at the top on the banners, you can go quickly to those items as a quick launch. So you go to community, which is living in the customer PRC at the moment, and that will take you straight there. So it's a quick launch spot. So that's the widgets page. It's coming in June. So it'll be externally released and available to you in June. And that is the demo for today. I look forward to seeing you at the Access for Roadshow. We'll be able to talk through some of the other exciting features that we have in the roadmap. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Anne. That's great product news from Anne there. Over to SASBOSS tips and tricks with Luke, who will now take over and share himself and do a demonstration.
Thanks, John. All right, so a couple of things we're going to be covering today for tips and tricks. Device custom configurations. There are many times where you're probably doing a deployment for a customer and you end up doing the same thing again and again for multiple customers. I'm going to show you how you do this in a reseller level down to your customers. And these can include things like maybe putting your logos onto the phone, so that way when your phone's out in the field with customers, it's potentially maybe additional advertising for you directly from that customer site. Or maybe even going through and setting up some hard set keys, so that way your VIP customers can come directly through to you and they can bypass the other customers come through. Also be showing you how to search PRC without leaving SASBOSS, and also talk about bulk deployments and updates to help save you time in getting your services out there. All right, so we're going to jump into SASBOSS now. All right, so if we're going to be changing something that's going to go to all our customers, of course, we'll be doing this from our reseller level. And on the right-hand side, we go to our Actions tab and go down to Manage Custom Device Config. You can see I've already got a couple of handsets loaded on here already. So to do this, simply click on Create. That'll load up a screen there. We'll select the device we wish to work with, such as, say, Yealink. And then from here, we've then selected the device we wish to work with. So in this case, I'm going to pick on the T56A for this time round. Now down the bottom, you can go through these menus and apply the different settings as needed. Or if you feel like you wish to do a complete do-it-yourself mode, you can use the config file here. Basically, anything that you do modify on here will still send the original config through, but it will put these modifications over those values to all those devices. So for example, if we wanted, so that way every single customer that we deploy plays, I don't know, Mario tunes to every single Yealink T56A is the ringtone. We could do that directly from here all the way through. Backgrounds, simple, come into here, go to custom, select a file, and then from there, you'll be able to upload it. It automatically centers onto the frame, so you don't have to worry about, squishing it to the right angle or that. It does it automatically from there. Maybe you're doing a lot of call center deployments rather than doing on every single handset. You could use these options, things like we want to show it every time there's a call center enabled handset out in the field. It shows, how many calls are waiting on queue direct on the handsets. What's the queue status, open or closed? Maybe they want to know from a distance. Maybe make the light flash on the phone to know the difference between a call come from the queue versus direct. All these sort of things are available. You'll notice also against a lot of them, if you hold your mouse over top, there is a little description about what it actually does. And that then repeats again through all of the different options that we've got here, all the way through to the end. Good thing about it, if you've got, as I mentioned before, we're talking about maybe hard setting a key. We can click on these here. So if we select yes here, we get to make it so that way every single handset that is maybe a speed dial, say maybe VIP, say help desk, for example, go to the line key value. So you could use things like call forwarding and one of the many other features. You don't have to remember the feature access codes anymore. Just select the one you want, and then you just put in the appropriate thing afterwards. Or if you don't want to use any of them, you can just go select and then just put in the phone number that you wish for it to dial through to. The other hint, which I won't go into just to demonstrate today, is if you are using this to get your VIP customers coming to a help desk or even for themselves, you can also, the queues, you can also set priorities over one queue and the other queue as well. All right, is there any questions for the Q&A before I proceed off this page?
No, nothing at this stage.
All good? Okay. All right, so the other thing I mentioned before was searching PRC without actually going to PRC. So you can always use this to find certain things. So maybe you want to know how to factory reset a handset. Just type in a simple word. Good thing about this, it actually doesn't go through searching through all the actual content or the actual blurb that's inside PRC. It is looking at the keywords and it gets to it very, very quickly. So if we want to know things about, say, SIP ALG, or we want to know a guide to a handset, might be a few guides. Trying to search for that on there. No, can't search guide and put on the note later on. But basically, it will show up a lot of different things here, and also if there are videos also enabled, you'll be able to watch the video as well. Moving on to our next one is about bulk deployments. So many of you guys are already well and truly aware of now these days is you can use the Microsoft token to set up Microsoft Teams, but you can also use it for another purpose. You can use it for doing deployments for Webex, UCAS, and other things as well in bulk, which can be a bit of a time saver. The only difference is when you're doing this setup, if you're not doing Teams, just don't tick the SBC box, click the assign users as always, and then once you've done that, on the group level, we can go to click on services and activate Microsoft Online Office 365 services. This will look at the same security group that you would have went through, like you would have done for Microsoft Teams. And you can see it's already pulling the information through. So this means I can go, I want to do this one, and I'm going to give it this add-on here. Much the same, rather than doing, selecting the endpoint with DID and no DID and going all the way through and filling out all the little bits and pieces. This is going to suck the information through, just like if you're doing a Teams enhanced deployment or basic. Then once you've done there, click on submit, it'll do it as a task. And then once it's complete, it'll send an email to say that job's been complete. And of course, with an SMS with a password unlocker for the associated file. Coming back up to the group level here. Now we'll talk about doing bulk updates. You can always click on services and go to bulk update services here. So maybe you've got a customer who says, I want to have all my voicemail turned off. I want to change my port forward no answer, or maybe you want to update busy landfill in bulk rather than doing it service by service. All you need to do is click on this icon here. That'll generate a task in the email your CSV file. Once you've received that, you'll be able to modify the values. Now, there is a reference guide built in here, so you don't need to go back and forth all over the shop. You can come to here, you can see we've already got everything you need to sort of know here. So Sajid's put this together in a really nice, easy to read format. So these will be the titles, and this is the things that you can put in there. Going down, as you can see, we've got things like contact phone numbers, maybe we want to work with alternate numbers, maybe we've got fax messaging enabled, maybe they want to change their outgoing calling profile, service by service, where maybe I want to have the sales team can call anywhere except 1-900 call or other things like that. So it's pretty detailed, and I think you'll find it particularly handy for things like the busy landfill rather than doing the drag and drop 55 times. If you've got the time for it, good on you, but I'm pretty sure you want to do it a quick way and get out at the end of the day. Any questions around that sort of things?
We have can we bulk update the licenses that a customer has, say, from collaboration to enterprise?
From collaboration to enterprise? Yep, so if we want to do the bulk updating of service packs on end users or any service for that matter, what you'll notice in this service creation screen, if we get down to halfway, anything below the export is all about bulk updating services. Anything above it is all about creation. So if we wanted to go in and update endpoints or Teams users, I think this one, we've got some Teams user service packs in this one. That'll go through and find whatever's in this one here. So this is a Teams-based one. So if I wanted to maybe convert this customer from potentially maybe Teams back to UCAS, or I could come into here and select that service pack. If I was doing a endpoint, I could go from What maybe if it was an office user, upgrade to a collaboration user, any which way possible. Once it's done, you click on apply changes, and then you'll get a progress bar at the top here, which will just tell you the updates as it goes along. Or just show the errors only, walk away, because you might have a few in there. It might just sort of take note. It takes roughly about a minute per user to process. So if you've got a few on to go there, maybe just sit back and let it do its thing. If you need to change everyone's service packs, there is a little shortcut here. Click on this, and then that'll copy the service pack information right through instead of doing it again and again and again.
Can we add speed dial remotely on multiple devices using one login?
Sorry, what was that question again?
Can we add speed dials remotely on multiple devices using one login?
Yes. So if you want to, if you're talking about like speed dial 8 or 100, you can come into here and say, select speed dial 8. You could do the template, or you can do it one by one if needed. Upload, hit submit, and then that would then populate out to each user. The customer has one additional service in there as well, which is not directly here from this login, is where they can do an enterprise-wide speed dial deployment as well. So if you're doing your training with your customer, get them log in as the enterprise login or the group login, and then you'll notice there is another icon on the left-hand side, which is enterprise-wide speed dials. And this will allow up to 10,000 speed dials to be programmed.
Cool. Mitch is currently answering that on, so I'll let him to do that. So continue on.
All right, so let's come back. All right, so for Webex. So for the Webex, you may have noticed over the last month, there's been a new pop-up that's coming onto the screen for every time a call is coming in on the right-hand side. So this is basically a notification to the customer say, one of your colleagues is getting a phone call, and if you wish to pick it up, you can do that. However, you've probably also got the same question, how do I get rid of it? And also, how do I configure it, and how can I turn it off from Webex? So to configure it from SASBOSS, all you need to do is go to one of the endpoint services. And configure the busy LAN field, as you've probably already done before. And we'll take a stab at this one. Is hopefully a service we can work with. So you come to your client applications, edit your busy LAN field. So if we select as yes, that allows these people to be monitored. We'll change if we need from right to left as needed. And then anyone who calls in, if you wish to one of these users, if I was logged in as that, I'll see the notification for one of those users. And here we go, there's one of those things now. I'm going to click on ignore. Also, we've got the option to park as well. So if I wish to park to call back to one of these users, so that way they can pick it up, go from there as well. All right, now we'll go to Webex, and we will show you where we can turn it on and off from here. You can do this one of two ways. You can do it from the top and go to settings, or you can do it from the bottom and go to call settings. Once you get this window open, you will have the Webex options here for notifications. And as you can see here, you can then start modifying how you wish to be notified when a notification comes through. This is also the same thing, has other notification options in here as well, maybe for upcoming meetings and other parts as well. So from here, if you want to get rid of the ringtone as the call comes through, you can do that. Or if you want to stop a pop-up, just click on this one here. And then click on save as needed. All right, so coming back to here. All right, so one of the features that is coming to Webex shortly is voicemail transcriptions. As so for Teams-based users who have had this for a while, this is also now coming to Webex as well. So the voicemail comes in, you'll be able to see that directly in Webex from the voicemail tab, and then you'll be able to forward that on as well. Now, some of the tools that I use and my team use is the resources over at Webex. So things like how-to videos, but also if we're trying to do a pitch to a certain industry type, there is also guides for how to sell to that, not only to that group, but also some deployment recommendations as well. So the website is pretty quite in depth. So as you can see in here, When you go through, there's things like adoption, spotlights in terms of doing different parts. Probably one of the things maybe to take on board here is the return to office template. So there's a few tips and tricks. If you've got, no doubt you've probably got customers who are returning back to the office, about the etiquette of coming back to an office and how to work in a group again, as we know a lot of us have worked in sort of isolation for a while. They also allow you to download the assets in bulk as well, and there's a few other things. It's quite handy to read through, especially if you don't know a specific area of that industry, or if you just want to use something that's a little bit easier to consume for your customer. Any questions? No one.
Voicemail transcription coming to voicemail on UCAS also.
Only for Webex. That's a Webex enabled service. All right, so coming to our last part is the iCall suite. And we'll put random bits all over the place and come back. Okay. All right, so a lot of people are getting into Tollring now. There's a lot of people where they set it up and they try to handball to customer and think that's the end of the day. However, you want to really set it up and also probably do a little bit of hand holding on day 0 on giving it over to your customer. So some of my recommendations is putting departments against specific users, mainly so that way when they go looking at the report, rather than selecting Bob, Jane, Fred and all the rest of it from sales and then going selecting all the other random names, you can group people by types, so that way when they run reports, it makes it easy to work with. The other thing is around phone numbers. Not everyone's going to remember the phone number of the advertised line or the TAC line directly. If you're putting names against specific numbers, you can then start running reports directly. So when they go to do filtering, it makes it a little bit easier to work with. Things like your business hours, you'd want to select the trading hours for when they run a report. In ad hoc mode, they're not always selecting 9 to 5 over and over again and unticking the weekends. They want to make it nice and simple. Things like the dashboard just show data that matters on day 1. This makes life a little bit easier, so you're not explaining too much. Some of the other recommendations also when you're onboarding your customer is on day 1, just do a one-to-one with the SME in terms of the training. And just give them a brief overview of what is there. Even do this maybe prior to going live, just to get a little bit of information like the departments, as you probably would have done when you're doing your collection of data. And then once the customer's had the service on for roughly about 7 days, let's get them to come back in and start reviewing the data that's there. So that way you've got something to work with to explain what it means, what it does. And this can also be another chance for you to maybe upsell the solution to your end customer, because you might have a customer who just thinks, I want hunt groups everywhere, thinking that's going to solve the world. And then you'll show them things like their missed call report, and they've lost maybe 3/4 of their calls because of how they wanted to do it. So it can be an opportunity to upsell as well. Going on from there, once you've got past the admins, then start working with your supervisors and your agent consoles as a separate session. Doing one big dump of all of this in one hit with one customer will ensure that pretty much won't go back into it because it'll be too much for them to handle. So we'll come into Tollring for the moment, and I'll go through these options I was talking about. So on the bottom left-hand side, we go to the configuration, click on user, and then we go to department. As you can see, I've already got a couple in here. Very simple to set up. It's just a plus. Put in the name of the department. So maybe we talk about accounts. And if they want to put a KPI against a particular department, they can do that from here as well. So we'll say accounts may give them a call back within, say, 120 minutes. Very long callback time. Then we can come back up to configuration. And we go to user, and then we can click on extension. You can do this in bulk, but I just want to show you one by one for a moment, so that way you get a feel on the drive. All right, so maybe now we want to assign the department to individuals. So just type in a couple of characters in here, hit enter, and that'll filter out any users that's got listed these names. Come to the right-hand side and click on edit. And then we can go into departments and then select the department that we're going to assign those people to. Once you've done that, click on save. You can also do things like what is the start time of individuals. So maybe they want to put a KPI about are people showing up to work on time. So you can probably put in this person's start time is that, and they're normally available for 8 hours a day, which you can then report on later on as well. Once you've done that, click on save. And then you've done basically your departments. The last thing that I mentioned before was also the trading hours. Now this is hidden over here underneath system settings and business performance. So the top part, if they are a marketing group, they might want to do some things about forecast management, where they want to know what is the conversion rate of inbound phone calls. You could do that from the top and same for outbound. However, we are focusing on the trading hours just a moment here. So this is where you put in your trading hours as to when they open and close. Note that we've got midnight through to the end here. Basically what that means, that is a whole day event and that is kept as closed. Going down the bottom here, more performance parameters mainly due for outbound telemarketing. All you need to do from here on the system settings is disable the sync for department for Broadworks, and then that will stop the Broadworks coming in and putting in departments that you don't use. Also, sort of take notes from a tech support note here as well. If the customer logs in as themselves, they can actually restrict your access for you looking at their data. So if they come into here and say block this one and block this one and this, that means you cannot access your customer. They'll have to grant you access as needed. So just sort of take that on board when they say, oh, can you help me out with something? And you're going through the service provider portal that's provided to you and you can't actually get into anything. This is the reason why. And some people will want to block it because they've got some compliance issues and some also data security notes that they want to take care of. All right, so now we'll quickly duck over to reports. All right, so now we've done the setup of reports. Now we can make it a little bit more easy to work with. So when we click on the extension all, you can see it always shows, oh, I must start on this one, unfortunately, because it's been a bit quiet. So what we'll do is come into my filter here just a sec. Okay, you can see we've got a lot of different extensions and different data, but now we've done it at the panels. We don't need to actually do it like this. What we can do is we can come into our plus, go to our levels, and take note. When we tick on something like this, it basically says all departments, but we want to focus maybe just on sales. So we can untick this one here and go to sales, and we can go to apply. And now we're just focusing solely on the sales department. And this can be replicated in quite a few different other reports catalogs as well. So from here, now you could maybe if you want to start making a tile out of this, we just want to know what is the extension activity for sales. We can now click on this one here, and then we can say last month's, because that's what it is, extension activity sales, something like this. So whenever we're setting up a tile that we want to bring up, again, keep it simple with your customer. You'll probably use something like today's sales calls. From summary, that will take all this data here and put it into a dashboard of this style of configuration. If we did the next option of some details, such as this, that would then focus on the next bracket underneath, where it's this data here coming into here, something like that. And then of course, if you were to select the last one for charts, that would then go as that sort of style in as well. The next thing we have seen some people getting a little bit stuck with is also around the reporting, just to focus on this one. Now let's just take note of the heading here. We've got create task and add to existing task. Creating a new task, this is where we want everything to happen at this specific time. So John may want to keep a focus on all the sales that came in. On that sales, here we go, sales to sales. And maybe want to send it to another location as well. If we use the encryption, this means you get a separate email with a password to unlock the file that's sent to you. Then down the bottom, when do we want to have that report? Do we want it to be run daily, weekly, and monthly? Now, some people will think, yep, I want to run this weekly, but when they get the data, it's a little bit back to forward. Why? Because what you've got down here is the filter is saying we want to see last month and we're running it weekly. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So most likely you probably want to have last week as the filter with the department. So that way when you get your weekly email coming in with the report, you can actually see the data for the week, not the week forward or the month, whatever. So simple, do the filter, do the task, so that way you get the correct data. Then give it a name and then put in what format you want to receive it. Once you've created your initial task, you come back to here, select one that's been pre-created beforehand, and then as you do more filters, they'll be sent to you at a weekly basis with the new name with whatever filter underneath. This makes life a lot easier, so that way instead of getting 15 emails at midnight or 7 a.m. in the morning, you get one email with all reports, so you'll have maybe 10 PDFs or however many reports in it, all in one hit. Last thing is the dashboard. So you saw me quickly before set up, show where to put create a tile, which bring into here. The data that I put in here for a customer to begin with, I don't put this much data in. Typically what I'll focus on is maybe putting a name and the phone number, so that way I know the name of the call or the queue. If it's a queue-based organisation and they've got the Tollring Ultimate, I'll put this down the bottom so that way they can see people sign in and out. And then maybe put on the unreturned missed calls. And let's face it, everyone wants to be able to return a missed call. They don't want to post mortem the next day of the business they've lost. They want to be able to see it in real time. So this is something you probably want to see set up with them very quickly. And if you don't want to give them direct access to Tollring just yet, but you still want them to be able to see the data, you've always got the option, if you've got the projection license, to click on this link here and then publish it and provide that link to them. So and say, look, here's the data in a view that you can watch for the next week. So that way you can see what's going on. And then on day 7, we'll come in and review the data and explain to you what is going on, then give them the full access. All right, John, back to you.
Yeah, so we just had one more question, which is related not to iCall Suite, but a bit further on. Is it possible to set up speed dial DSS key, e.g. Gailing device in bulk?
Yes.
Not the main one.
Yes, so using the same sort of thing. So you can do this from, come up to, yeah. So you can do this from, I think mine might be a little bit hidden here. All right, so from the enterprise level, and you're pretty much looking for the same wording here all the time. So manage custom device config. So if you do it to enterprise, it's going to go down to all devices with that specific type. Or if you're doing it from the group level, you do the same thing from devices. So device management. So you come to here, same deal, you applied in there. But worth also noting is if you're doing a Webex deployment and it's their own device, this will also make the Webex the primary device. Then on the user level, the same thing again, you could click on a end service. I've got one of them. And you can do that directly on the device that you're managing for them. We probably don't have a device loaded on one of these users here. All right. So if there was a device in here, it'll be managed on against the device, and you'd also have the option to custom config. So remember that SASBOSS, every single time, most things are done from the reseller down to enterprise, down to the group, and down to the service.
Okay. One more question for iCall Suite, I believe. Is there a way to bulk manage members of a department rather than selecting one staff member at a time?
Yes. So if we come back to configuration, go to user, import export directory. So what this allows us to do is we could export what is the current directory of services we've got there. There's also the option of download a sample if you just want to do it manually all the way through. Then once you've done that, you can click on browse the file and extension, and then import now. And then that will then allow you to, as you can see the headings here, you've got departments, division, username, all those sorts of things are then available in bulk.
Cool. We've got another question. Is there a way that I can add additional days to the Vic public holidays if our business had an additional day off?
So you're talking about from the SASBOSS perspective, I take it?
I assume so, yes.
So at present, there is not a way to edit the, in what's done on the public holidays. Depending on which service, you may need to use a selective condition, or a service maybe it sits in front of it. There is a project on the go at the moment, and you might be able to shed some light on this because I know we've talked about this one.
Yeah. Holiday schedules and being able to manually update and create your own is on the roadmap and it is coming up as part of SASBOSS 2.0 refresh, but it doesn't have a release date yet.
Yeah. But aside from that, typically I'd use, if it's a custom holiday outside that, I'd use a selective condition, or I'd create it from scratch and use some of the repeating features of all year round services. Maybe one second out of that one, then we'll go do a one-on-one for that one because it's a little bit more complex.
Okay, cool. Right. We'll do that. Mitch is answering the other question that's there.
Thank you.
So I will take over. We'll go back to the slideshow. So we'll just go on to other updates that are occurring within the environment of Voice. So EOFY stock levels. So it's really important to be mindful of the stock levels that were within our suppliers. So a lot of the cheaper models are usually lower or on back order. So we've seen that quite frequently throughout the period. We do get periods where there are quite a lot of stock of the cheaper models, but at the moment there is a fair bit of lower stock or stock that is on back order. So we just need you to be mindful of that. The higher level models, so the more expensive models usually, are usually in stock. So there tends to be a fair bit of that in stock. So it's probably worth having a chat to your PGM just to confirm availability. I know that the procurement team will reach out when they've got that information, but it is also worth having a chat to your PGM just to confirm that availability prior to probably ordering it or selling it to a client, because it may not make it in before the end of financial year. Telstra CLI update. I know the last Access to Text, I had a quick sort of demonstration of the CLI update that's coming on. So Telstra still have it delayed. They don't have a date as yet as to when it is going to start. They are currently monitoring and reporting on instances of where a call or a text, or text they've actually started, but a call would be blocked. So they're just reporting back to, say, ourselves or someone else of where a call would be blocked. But again, there is no update on when that will start. We will give you notice on when that will start once we know, but they will give us 30 days notice of when that will happen. And last but not least, the Access 4 roadshows are on again. We have the ability to meet the execs, meet some of the team, talk about products, talk about SASBOSS, talk about the other products we've got, see them on display. Each of those roadshows, it'll be Melbourne first, in Richmond here in our brand new office that we're in for the second day today. And at that link, info.access4.com/roadshow-Melbourne on the Tuesday, the 24th of May. 2 days later, we'll be in Brisbane at the Cadbury by Fraser on the 26th of May. Jasmina will be putting the links into chat as well as ongoing. So that link is info.access4.com/roadshow-Brisbane. And last but not least will be Sydney at the Hilton on Wednesday, the 1st of June. And that's again at info.access4.com/roadshow-Sydney. And we'd love to see you all there. It's a great time to meet you all and get you to see our product in a greater way. So I don't believe we have any more questions. Mitch, do we have any more questions?
You guys have covered them all off.
That's all of them. Great. Well, thank you very much for your attendance today, and it's great to have you all back, and I hope to see you at the roadshows.